The shove sent Ephraim sprawling into darkness. Metal clanged behind him, a sound of absolute finality that echoed through his bones. The air reeked of blood and desperation. Something growled in the shadows. He froze, combat training overriding panic. His eyes adjusted slowly to reveal a figure coiled in the far corner. When the failing right panel flickered, his breath caught. She was magnificent and terrifying. Vibrant pink skin marred by filth, silver hair cascading over her shoulders, feline ears flattened in pure aggression. Her golden eyes blazed with feral intensity. A kitten warrior. He'd only seen them in classified reports. The syndicate overseer's words echoed in his mind. "We're taking bets on how long a soft-bodied medic lasts." But Ephraim noticed what the betting pool hadn't. The ragged tear below her ribs, the dark swelling, the wet rasp of her breathing. She wasn't just dangerous, she was dying. The growling intensified. She was stalking him through the pitch black. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said quietly, lowering his pack. "I'm a medic." A sharp hiss answered him. Claws scraped metal. Ephraim opened his hidden medical kit, pathetically small, but it was everything he had. 1 antibiotic injector, 2 water packets, some antiseptic wipes. He held up a water packet during the next flicker of light, then slid it across the floor toward her. Minutes crawled by. Then, in the darkness, he heard movement. When the light pulsed again, the water was gone. He demonstrated each item on himself, cleaning a cut on his arm, eating nutrient paste, showing her, healing, not harming. On the third offering, she moved. Fluid even through her injuries, she crossed the space in a low crouch and stopped just beyond reach. Her fever-bright eyes never left his as she leaned forward and licked the paste from his finger. Her tongue was surprisingly soft. They were inches apart now, close enough for him to see the pain dulling her golden gaze. Then she retreated. "The wound," he whispered. "The infection is in your blood. Let me help." He took a step toward her. She growled but didn't attack. He knelt, reducing his height, and waited. "There's metal inside," he said. "It's poisoning you. I have to remove it." Her eyes tracked the makeshift scalpel he created from his armor. Understanding flickered there, and terror. "This will hurt," he said, meaning it. "I'm sorry." He moved swiftly, wrapping his arm around her, pinning her against the wall as the scalpel found the wound. She exploded. Her shriek tore through the cell as she thrashed with fever-fueled strength. He held on, absorbing her desperate struggles, his voice a constant stream of reassurance. "I've got you. Just hold still. It's almost over." His fingers found the jagged shard of shrapnel hooked into muscle. He gripped it and pulled. She convulsed violently, her teeth grazing his neck, not biting, just clamping against unbearable pain. The metal came free. He injected the antibiotic into her thigh. The fight drained from her all at once. She slumped against him, her sobs gradually subsiding into exhausted breathing. Her silver hair fell against his cheek as he held her trembling form. He didn't know if she would ever trust him again, but she was alive. A full cycle passed. The cell became a recovery room. He'd cleaned and bandaged her wound with canvas from his pack. She hadn't fought him, just watched with sharp intelligence that unnerved him more than her rage ever had. The fever broke. She accepted food from his fingers without hesitation. Then he heard the hiss from the ceiling vent. Vapor snaked into the cell, carrying a sickly sweet scent. His blood ran cold. Xyloyan rage gas, a combat stimulant that hijacked the brain's aggression centers. "No," he whispered. Her head snapped up, pupils dilating to black pools. A guttural growl rumbled from her chest. She clawed at her temples, screaming, a thin sound of confusion and agony. She launched herself at him. He didn't fight back. He caught her, wrapped his arms around her thrashing form, and used his body as a shield. Her snarls were wet and desperate against his neck. "Fight it," he grunted. "Don't let them do this. Stay with me." He had one option, a dangerous nerve cluster technique to counteract neurotoxins. His hand cupped the back of her head, forcing her blazing eyes to meet his. With precise pressure, he found the nerve points at the base of her skull. Her body went rigid. A choked cry escaped her throat. He held the pressure, their faces inches apart, breaths mingling in poisoned air. The chemical fire in her eyes flickered, then receded, pushed back by her indomitable will. Her pupils constricted, gold returned, her lips parted. Ephraim. His name. She knew his name. The gas dissipated. She sagged in his arms, trembling. He lowered them both to the floor, cradling her. "You knew my name," he said, voice rough. She lifted her head slowly. "I've known it since you first spoke it," she rasped. "I heard everything. I saw everything. But I was drowning, trapped in my own body." The confession shattered something in his chest. She'd been aware, a prisoner watching her infected mind try to tear him apart. "My name is Nira," she said. They talked through the long hours. She told him of being first blade to the Kytan Matriarch, of the ambush, of failing to protect her sisters. He told her of his squad, of the transport attack, of being the only survivor. Different stories, same threads: duty, loss, survival. When she shivered, he pulled her closer. She leaned into his warmth, acceptance, trust. They were no longer medic and patient. They were two soldiers finding peace in shared hell. The silence was shattered by the recycler vent cutting off. The overseer's voice crackled through a speaker. "The sponsors are displeased. They paid for blood, not conversation. Enjoy dehydration and starvation. We find it makes for better motivation." Nira pushed away from him, strength returning with defiant energy. "He thinks this will break us," she said, her voice steel. "He's given us a weapon, a deadline." They became a unit. She searched walls for structural weaknesses. He analyzed the door's locking mechanism. Their collaboration was seamless, her understanding of Xyloian construction complementing his field repair knowledge. As they worked, new intimacy grew. The brush of her arm against his, her silver hair falling across his shoulder as she pointed out a flaw in the metal. The shared focus gleaming in their eyes. They were forging something dangerous, a weapon of two. Days later, Vorlo's voice announced their hour had come. In the final minutes, profound stillness descended. They stood in the cell's center, shadows hiding nothing. He reached out, tracing her jaw, thumb brushing her lips. She leaned into his touch, her golden eyes holding his, no fear, only fierce resolve. Her fingers laced with his, then traced the dents in his armor. Each scar a story that led him here. To her. He lowered his head. She met him halfway. The kiss was collision, desperation, defiance. His hands tangled in her silver hair. Her arms wrapped around his neck. It tasted of dust and sweat and an unspoken promise. If this was their end, they'd face it together. The cell door shrieked open. 4 guards entered, expecting easy prey. They got violence instead. Nira was a whirlwind of lethal precision. Ephraim was tactical anchor, heaving the loosened floor panel into one guard, whipping the sparking power conduit into another. 10 seconds, 4 guards down. Vorlo stared in disbelief. They advanced out of the cell, steps perfectly synchronized. Down the corridor, other gladiators saw the fallen guards, saw the overseer stumble back in terror. A roar went up, then another. An old warrior ripped the control panel from the wall. Energy bars flickered and died.
The unchaining had begun.
"The spire!" Ephraim yelled over the chaos. "Vorlo controls everything from there." They cut through corridors like a scalpel. When they met resistance, Nera was the blade. Ephraim was the hand guiding it, spotting weaknesses, keeping them moving. They reached the arena floor. High above, Vorlo barked orders from his plastile-encased spire. Ephraim jammed metal across circuits. Massive dust extractors roared to life in reverse, creating a blinding sandstorm. Under its cover, they raced for the spire. The final confrontation was swift. Nera moved like water around Vorlo's clumsy strikes, disciplined fury, not mindless rage. She disarmed him, left him broken. Her victory was complete. Dawn filtered through shattered plastile. The uprising had faded into organized liberation sounds. In the ruined spire, silence reigned. Ephraim found a clean cloth and water. He gently cleaned the cut on her temple, his touch steady as in the cell's darkness. She closed her eyes, leaning into his hand. When he finished, she took the cloth and cleaned a cut on his cheek, just as tender, just as focused. He sank to the floor, exhausted. Nera looked down at him, golden eyes soft in dawn light. Then she curled onto his chest, her head finding the hollow of his shoulder, her ear resting over his heartbeat. The first sound she'd truly heard in the cell, the constant in the darkness, the sound of her rescue. He wrapped his arms around her. The once feral girl closed her eyes and, for the first time in ages, slept dreamlessly, secure in the arms of the man who'd refused to see her as anything less than who she was. 6 months later, the twin suns rose over Kratos Station, transformed from arena to fragile sanctuary. Ephraim served as chief medical officer. Nera commanded security. When the sleek Kytan vessel descended from the sky, bearing the Matriarch symbol, his stomach knotted. "They found me," Nera whispered. The delegation had come to take her home. That night, she stood by their window, staring at the ship. He came to stand behind her. "You should go," he said. "It's your home, your duty." She turned, eyes flashing with hurt. "Do you think what we have should be discarded?" "What we have is the only thing that's ever felt real," he said, pain breaking through. "That's why you have to go. I can't be the reason you abandon your oath." "My oath was to protect," she said, hand cupping his cheek. "You protected me. You redefined my oath. If I leave you, I'm leaving the best part of myself behind." She pulled him into her arms. The next morning, Nera addressed the Matriarch. "My life was forfeit. It was given back by this man. My hands, sworn to you, are guided by a heart sworn to him. We are a unit. We come as one, or I cannot come at all." Silence filled the chamber. The Matriarch studied them both. Finally, a shrewd smile crossed her ancient face. "For 6 months, I searched for my lost first blade," she said. "It seems I've found her, and she's brought a first shield." She inclined her head in profound respect. The future was unwritten. Whether their path led to the Kytan homeworld or remained on this dusty moon, they would face it together, always together.